Let's face it, when a woman ignores you, it feels like the ultimate slap in the face. Suddenly, the calls stop, the texts dry up, and you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? Here's the hard truth. Most men make it worse by falling into a cycle of desperate behavior. And guess what? That's exactly why she's ignoring you. The first mistake men make is trying to fix things immediately. They double down on attention, shower her with messages, or worse, show up uninvited. Don't fool yourself. You're not showing love or persistence. You're screaming insecurity. The moment you chase her, she loses respect. Women don't respond to weakness. They walk all over it. But let's go deeper. The second trap is blaming yourself entirely. Some men spiral into self-doubt, dissecting every conversation, every text, and even how they breathed the last time they saw her. Stop it. Her ignoring you might not even be about you. Yet, when you overanalyze and become apologetic, you hand her all the power. A woman won't value a man who can't even value himself. Here's where it gets tricky. What you don't do is just as important as what you do. Acting like nothing's wrong, playing cool, or pretending you don't care can also backfire. Why? Because if you're faking it, she'll see right through you. Women have a sixth sense for detecting phoniness. The point is this: when a woman ignores you, your reaction determines your worth in her eyes. You're either the man who rises above or the guy she forgets by next week. This video is your roadmap to avoid 5 critical mistakes most men make. Stay with me because I'll show you how to turn her silence into an opportunity to reclaim your confidence, dignity, and even her attention. So, are you ready to stop sabotaging yourself and start playing the game on your terms? Let's dive into the 5 mistakes you must never make when she ignores you. 1. Don't blow up her phone. When she's ignoring you, the first instinct for many men is to grab their phones and flood her with messages. Are you okay? Did I do something wrong? Why aren't you answering me? Text after text, call after call. It's relentless. And while you might think this shows care or concern, to her it screams desperation. Here's the hard truth. Over-messaging doesn't make her miss you. It pushes her further away. Why? Because it signals that your emotional balance depends on her response. Women aren't attracted to men who come off as needy or clingy. Blowing up her phone doesn't make her feel valued. It makes her feel overwhelmed. The more you press, the more she retreats. Think about this. If someone sent you 10 messages in a row without a response, how would you feel? Probably smothered or annoyed. Now amplify that reaction when it's someone trying to win your attention romantically. Instead of pulling her closer, your persistence becomes a reason for her to avoid you altogether. Let's look at a scenario. Imagine this. You've been texting her all day, but she hasn't replied. Frustrated, you send a string of messages. Why are you ignoring me? I thought we had a good time last week. Just let me know if something's wrong. She finally responds hours later with one word: busy. How do you feel? Worse. She feels justified in her silence because, in her eyes, you've proven you're overly emotional and impatient. The key here is restraint. If she's not responding, respect her space. Send one clear message that doesn't require an immediate reply, like, "Hey, hope everything's okay. Let me know when you're free." Then stop. Walk away from your phone if you have to. By giving her space, you communicate strength and confidence. You're showing her that you're a man who values himself enough not to chase what isn't being freely offered. Remember, silence isn't always an invitation to react. It's often a test of how well you can handle it. Pass that test by staying calm, composed, and focused on yourself, not your phone. 2. Stop apologizing for no reason. When a woman ignores you, many men instinctively jump to apologize. "I'm sorry if I upset you. I didn't mean to do anything wrong. Sorry for whatever I did." These phrases roll off your tongue in a desperate attempt to fix things. But here's the problem. You're apologizing without even knowing what you're apologizing for. And to her, it doesn't come off as thoughtful. It comes off as weak. Apologizing for no reason signals insecurity. It shows her that you're so worried about losing her that you're willing to take the blame even when you've done nothing wrong. This shifts the power dynamic in her favor. She knows she can keep you on edge with just her silence because you're too eager to please. Women don't admire men who constantly seek validation through unwarranted apologies. Think about this. When you apologize unnecessarily, you're framing yourself as the problem. You're admitting guilt without evidence. And if she was annoyed at you before, now she might feel even more irritated. Why? Because you've made it clear that you're too afraid to stand firm. Here's an example. She's been ignoring your messages, and instead of giving her space, you send a text saying, "I'm sorry if I upset you. I really didn't mean to." She reads it, rolls her eyes, and doesn't reply. Why? Because nothing about that text makes her feel drawn to you. It doesn't show confidence. It screams insecurity. Instead, hold your ground. If you genuinely don't know what's wrong, don't assume fault. A better response is no response at all. If she eventually tells you what's bothering her and you're truly at fault, then a sincere apology is appropriate. But apologizing preemptively gives her no reason to respect or value your presence. Women are attracted to men who own their actions and stand confidently behind them. So, if she's ignoring you and you're unsure why, don't assume guilt. Let her come to you when she's ready to communicate. Until then, maintain your dignity. Sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to do nothing at all. 3. Don't try to make her jealous. When a woman ignores you, the temptation to make her jealous can be overwhelming. You think, if she sees me with someone else, she'll realize what she's missing. But here's the truth. Playing this game rarely works the way you hope. Instead of making her regret ignoring you, it often makes you look desperate, immature, or even manipulative. Women aren't oblivious to these tactics. If you're suddenly posting pictures with other women, tagging yourself at social events, or flaunting your fun life online, she's not impressed. She's rolling her eyes. Why? Because it's obvious what you're doing. You're trying too hard to get her attention, and that's a huge turnoff. No one is drawn to someone who needs to stage their life for validation. Even worse, trying to make her jealous can backfire entirely. Instead of drawing her back, it might push her further away. She might think, "Oh, so he's already moved on." Good for him, and completely detach herself emotionally. Or worse, she could see it as manipulative behavior and lose respect for you altogether. The irony here is that when you focus on trying to make her jealous, you're giving her more power over you. Every move you make is centered around her, even if you're pretending it's not. You're letting her dictate your behavior, which only reinforces her decision to ignore you. The reality is that women are attracted to men who exude confidence and self-respect, not men who play games. Instead of trying to make her jealous, redirect your energy toward genuinely improving yourself. Go to the gym, focus on your work, or pursue hobbies you enjoy. When your life is truly fulfilling, you don't need to stage anything to get her attention. It happens naturally. It's all about authenticity. If she sees you thriving and happy, without trying to rub it in her face, she'll take notice. Not because you're flaunting it, but because your confidence and independence are magnetic. That's the real way to spark interest. Not by trying to manipulate her emotions, but by showing her that your world doesn't revolve around her. A man who knows his worth doesn't play games, and that's what makes him unforgettable. 4. Avoid over-explaining yourself. One of the biggest mistakes men make when a woman starts ignoring them is over-explaining themselves. They fall into the trap of trying to justify every action, explain their intentions, and clarify why they said or did something. Here's the problem. This behavior doesn't resolve the situation. It only digs the hole deeper. When you over-explain, you're essentially telling her, "I need you to understand me because your opinion of me defines my value." That's not attractive. It's exhausting. A woman doesn't want a man who feels the need to constantly validate himself through lengthy explanations. She wants a man who stands firm in his actions, confident that his words and choices speak for themselves. Now, let's be real. Many men over-explain because they're scared. They think if they don't clarify, she'll misunderstand or leave. But here's the wake-up call. Over-explaining doesn't make you look thoughtful or considerate. It makes you look insecure. And insecurity kills attraction faster than anything else. Men, it's time to wake up. You don't owe her a 10-paragraph essay on why you texted her a certain way, didn't call at a specific time, or made a joke she didn't laugh at. If she's ignoring you because of something trivial, the issue isn't your behavior. It's her unwillingness to communicate. And if you're constantly bending over backward to explain yourself, you're just feeding the cycle of imbalance in the relationship. Here's the advice. Say what you mean once and let it stand. If she doesn't understand or chooses to misinterpret it, that's on her, not you. A man who respects himself doesn't beg to be understood. He allows his actions and intentions to be clear and leaves the rest to others. Remember, confidence isn't loud or overbearing. It's calm and steady. If she's ignoring you and you've done nothing wrong, don't fall into the trap of trying to explain yourself out of the situation. Let her come to you when she's ready to talk. And if she doesn't, walk away with your dignity intact. Over-explaining isn't just a mistake. It's self-sabotage. Don't sell yourself short by pleading for understanding. Wake up and realize that you're worth more than the approval of someone who doesn't value clear, simple communication. 5. Don't pretend you don't care. When a woman starts ignoring you, the natural defense mechanism for many men is to act like they don't care. You tell yourself, if I pretend she doesn't matter, I'll protect my pride and keep my emotions in check. On the surface, it seems like a strong move, but here's the reality. Pretending you don't care doesn't make you look confident. It makes you look fake. Women can see through this act. They know when a man is feigning indifference. The problem with pretending is that it's still a reaction. You're not actually detached. You're just trying to mask your feelings by overcompensating. And ironically, this kind of performance does the opposite of what you want. It makes you seem emotionally immature and unwilling to address the situation head-on. The truth is, pretending you don't care often leads to mixed signals. You might ignore her texts, avoid interaction, or act cold in person, thinking this will make her chase you. But all it really does is create confusion. She's left wondering if you're playing games or if you're incapable of genuine communication. And guess what? Neither of those scenarios makes you more attractive in her eyes. Here's where the criticism comes in. Men, stop fooling yourselves. Acting like you don't care doesn't make you strong. It makes you avoidant. Strength isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about controlling and expressing them with maturity. If her behavior bothers you, acknowledge it to yourself, but don't let it dictate your actions. The best move you can make is to strike a balance. Show that you value yourself enough not to chase her, but also that you're not afraid to care. If she's ignoring you, let her know you're aware of the distance without making it a big deal. Something like, "Hey, I've noticed you've been distant lately. If you want to talk, I'm here." Then leave it at that. No games, no theatrics, just honest, composed communication. Pretending you don't care only damages your authenticity. Women are drawn to men who can handle emotional situations with grace and composure, not those who hide behind a facade. Care when it's necessary, but never let it compromise your self-respect. That balance is where real strength lies. 6. Stop posting for her attention. One of the worst mistakes you can make when a woman ignores you is turning to social media as a tool to grab her attention. Men often do this without even realizing it, but the intention is clear. You want her to notice you, to see what you're up to, and maybe even spark some jealousy or regret. But here's the harsh truth. Posting for her attention doesn't make you look desirable. It makes you look desperate. When you flood your feed with curated moments of fun, achievements, or "look how great my life is" updates, it's painfully obvious what you're trying to do. Women are smart. They can tell when your posts are aimed at them. Instead of drawing her back in, you're likely to come off as insecure, like someone who needs external validation to feel worthy. That's not attractive. It's exhausting. Let's make this relatable. Imagine you've noticed a woman ignoring you for days. Frustrated, you post a picture of yourself at a bar with friends, tagging the location and adding a caption like, "living my best life." But in reality, you're sitting there, checking your phone every few minutes, hoping she'll comment or like it. She doesn't. Why? Because nothing about that post changes her feelings. It doesn't make her miss you. It makes her feel like you're trying too hard. The problem with posting for attention is that it shifts the focus away from yourself and onto her opinion. Instead of living your life authentically, you're performing for someone who isn't even paying attention. This isn't just unattractive, it's self-sabotaging. Here's the better approach. Step away from the need to broadcast your every move. Live your life for yourself, not for her or anyone else. Go out, have fun, and grow as a person. But do it genuinely, without the need for an audience. When you focus on improving yourself and building real connections, you naturally become more attractive. Women are drawn to men who are secure in themselves, not men who seek validation through attention-seeking antics. If she's ignoring you, let her. Don't respond by making your social media a stage. Respond by being the kind of man who doesn't need to perform. That's the kind of energy that truly makes an impact. 7. Don't confront her in public. Confronting a woman in public when she's ignoring you is one of the quickest ways to embarrass yourself and destroy any chance of salvaging the situation. It might feel like the right move in the heat of the moment. You're frustrated, confused, or even hurt, but dragging personal issues into a public setting doesn't make you look strong. It makes you look out of control. When you confront someone publicly, it's not just the two of you anymore. Everyone around becomes an uninvited witness to your emotions. This shifts the focus from solving the issue to the drama of the situation. Women don't respond positively to being called out or pressured in front of others. It's not only uncomfortable for her, but it also paints you as someone who lacks emotional composure. Think about this. A man who approaches a woman at a party, in a restaurant, or even over social media comments with, "Why are you ignoring me?" immediately loses points. It doesn't show strength. It shows that her actions have complete control over your emotional state. Worse, if she feels cornered or embarrassed, she might shut down completely or lash out defensively, making things even worse. Here's the reality. Public confrontation isn't about solving problems. It's about making a statement. And that statement often screams insecurity. It's like holding up a neon sign that says, "I need everyone to see me addressing this, so I feel validated." That's not the energy you want to project. Instead, learn to handle situations with grace and discretion. If her behavior bothers you, wait for the right time and place to address it privately. This shows that you respect her, yourself, and the relationship, whatever it may be. A calm, one-on-one conversation carries much more weight than a public showdown ever could. The key here is emotional maturity. Men, it's time to wake up. You don't win respect or admiration by airing out issues in front of others. You win it by handling things with confidence and calmness, even when you're upset. Public confrontation might feel like a quick fix, but it only pushes her further away. Handle the situation like a man who values himself, strong, steady, and always in control. 8. Never beg for an explanation. When a woman starts ignoring you, it's tempting to beg for answers. You feel this need to understand why she's distant, what went wrong, and why she's pulling away. You might think, if I can just get her to explain herself, I'll know where I stand. But here's the truth. Begging for an explanation doesn't just make you look desperate. It makes you lose your self-respect. Men, stop putting yourself in the position where you beg for answers. It's one thing to ask respectfully for clarification, but it's another to plead with someone to explain their actions, especially when they've already made it clear they're not interested in talking. When you beg, you're essentially handing over your emotional power. You're telling her that your emotional stability is entirely dependent on her explanation, and that's not a healthy dynamic. Begging for an explanation might feel like the right thing to do in the moment because you're confused, but all it does is push you further away from a resolution. It places you in a weak, vulnerable position that doesn't benefit you. You don't need to chase down answers to feel validated. You don't need to beg for closure to move forward. Here's the deal. If she's ignoring you, she's already communicated enough with her actions. The longer you beg, the more you're confirming that you're willing to tolerate disrespect. A man who values himself doesn't chase after explanations from someone who's not willing to engage. Instead of begging, focus on what you can control, yourself. Ask yourself what you've learned from the situation, what you can do differently, and how you can grow from this experience. The moment you stop begging for an explanation is the moment you start respecting your own worth. Women respect men who can stand firm in their own value without needing constant reassurance. If she's pulling away, let her. You don't need her reasons to move forward with your life. Don't beg for an explanation. Let your actions, self-improvement, and self-respect be the explanation. This is how you regain control and move on stronger than before. 9. Don't use gifts to win her back. Here's a harsh reality check for you. Throwing money at a problem with gifts will never fix things when a woman is ignoring you. Men, it's time to wake up. If you think buying her a gift will suddenly make everything better or force her to come back to you, you're mistaken. Gifts are nice, sure, but they should never be used as a tool to buy back affection or attention. If she's ignoring you, your gifts will be seen for what they really are, a desperate attempt to make up for something deeper that's missing. When you use gifts to win her back, you're sending the message that you believe material things can replace genuine connection. You're essentially saying, I don't know how to deal with this emotionally, so let me throw some stuff at you and hope it works. But here's the kicker. Gifts don't solve the real issue. If she's pulling away, there's probably an emotional gap between the two of you, and no amount of flowers or jewelry is going to close it. Men, it's time to stop running from your emotions by trying to buy your way back into her life. Gifts can be a token of appreciation, but they shouldn't be your go-to move when things get tough. If she's ignoring you, the last thing she needs is for you to shower her with things she doesn't even want. All you're doing is proving that you're more focused on the external than on addressing the emotional disconnect that caused the situation in the first place. What you need to do is this. Focus on yourself. Work on your growth, emotional intelligence, and ability to deal with situations like this without throwing material items into the mix. When you stop using gifts as a crutch, you begin to build real emotional strength. And that's something far more valuable than any present you could ever give. Women respect men who can face challenges head-on, not those who think they can buy their way out of every problem. Stop wasting your money and energy on gifts and start investing in yourself. True attraction isn't about the things you can give. It's about the man you've become. Grow into a man who doesn't need to use gifts to fix his problems, and you'll find that the women who are truly worth your time will start to take notice. 10. Don't use gifts to win her back. All right, here's the truth, guys. Stop trying to buy your way into a woman's heart. If she's ignoring you, the last thing you should be thinking about is throwing money at the situation with gifts. You might think, if I just get her something amazing, she'll see how much I care, and everything will go back to normal. But let's get one thing straight. This approach never works, and it only makes you look desperate. Men, it's time to wake up. You don't solve emotional problems with material things. If a woman is pulling away or ignoring you, there's something deeper going on. And throwing gifts at her is only going to highlight the fact that you're avoiding the real issue. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound that needs stitches. Sure, the gift might make her smile for a second, but the emotional distance will still be there, and eventually, the superficial gesture fades. Here's where a lot of men go wrong. They get stuck in the mindset that gifts equal affection. But that's not the case. Gifts can be a sweet gesture when given at the right time. But when you use them to manipulate or win someone back, it shows weakness. It shows that you're not confident enough in your own value to handle the situation head-on. Rather than focusing on what you can buy her, focus on what you can do for yourself. Work on your emotional strength and resilience. Instead of thinking that a nice gesture will win her back, consider why she's ignoring you in the first place. What's really going on? Did you take her for granted? Were you not emotionally available? Gifts can't fix those things. And deep down, you know that. If you want to earn respect and attraction, don't throw presents at her. Throw personal growth into the mix. Show her that you can handle being ignored without losing your sense of self-worth. This is far more attractive than any gift you could buy. A woman will always respect a man who understands his value and doesn't rely on material things to fix emotional issues. So, stop using gifts to try to win her back. Start using this time to better yourself, work on your own growth, and let her see that you're the kind of man who doesn't need to buy affection. That's how you truly become irresistible. Here's the hard truth. If you're constantly running after a woman who's ignoring you, you're only showing her that you don't respect yourself. Stop chasing validation and start respecting your own value. The moment you stop begging, stop buying affection, and stop losing yourself in her absence, you'll realize how much power you truly have. And that power isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. Women respect men who know their worth and aren't afraid to walk away when things aren't right. If you want to level up and stop making these mistakes, start taking responsibility for your own emotional state. Focus on your growth, and don't let anyone's behavior dictate your happiness. Be the man who can walk away from someone who doesn't value you, and watch how everything shifts in your life. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below sharing your experiences. Have you ever made one of these mistakes? What did you learn from it? Let's start a conversation. I'll be reaching out to connect with you personally.